any writings that happen. Oh, there we go. So every superhero starts with an origin story, and Superman is no different. I made a little recording of a scene from the 1978 movie, and the sound is a little wonky for the first 30 seconds, and then for the rest of it, it's mediocre at best, but you can still hear what you need to hear. So turn your volume up if you need to, but here we go. Cute baby. We love our baby. Adonai v'yishmerecha. Yeah, Adonai. Here we go.
The richness of our lives. All that I have, all that I've got, everything I feel. All this and more I bequeath to myself. You will carry me inside you. All the days of your life. You will make my strength around. See my life of your hands. Let your life be sealed in mine. So comes the Father of the child. All I can send you.
And this is a little edited, but here he goes. The baby's in that little spaceship.
Spaceship or basket? Space basket.
Come on, don't steal my thunder.
He hasn't got it. Not around here anyway.
Mother, are you thinking what I think?
And he's chatting my cousin and not the I'm just now open.
Oh,
Jonathan, he's only a baby.
Martha, now you saw how we found. Martha, Clark, and are you listening to what I'm saying?
Oh. I don't think he's from North Dakota. So this is the origin story for Superman. This is, if you heard the music in the background, that helps us know that he is Supermaning out. What do you notice about these two clips? What's going on here? And we're gonna let the confirmands be the answerers. CBT people, I know you, I love you, but I want to focus on them first.
Kids, don't be shy about doing having a guess.
Or putting it in the chat if you prefer.
Let's see, are they writing anything in there?
I can't
So they're not writing at the moment. I don't see any chats, anything in the chat. Oh, Ellery
Ellery,
came through.
yeah, Moses comparison. So can you expand on that?
Ellery, just unmute yourself.
Yeah, sorry. Is my microphone working? Sometimes it doesn't.
Yes, I can hear you great.
Okay. It's like when they put Moses in the basket and then he went down the river and found.
Do you remember who found him?
Oh God, I'm gonna get this wrong, so I'm just gonna say no.
Oh, give it a guess.
Think Passover.
We all know it's a guess.
Oh.
Pharaoh's daughter.
Woohoo!
Yeah, whoever said that, you were right.
I
It
think
didn't
that was
sound like
me
the
who jumped in.
voice.
Yeah, it was me.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for the save.
No
Nice,
problem.
nice save, ER. So sent down a, not a river Nile, but the river of space, and raised by strangers, very much like Moses being sent down the river Nile in his little basket and being raised by strangers. One of the things that you don't get from this clip is that while he was traveling, so obviously the baby does some growing in the pod, because it does it, you can't travel very long distances in space in a short amount of time, even if you're traveling at the speed of light or whatever. So the baby's growing from, being an infant to being around, 4 or 5 years old. And during that time when he's in the capsule, he's listening to Kryptonian recordings and learning about the history of Krypton, the history of Earth. He's learning about, mathematics and philosophy and all kinds of other things that Jor-El, his father, wanted to teach him. And so he's soaking that in. So he is, in a sense, raised by both Kryptonian lore and an American family here in Smallville, Kansas.
Rabbi David, can I jump in? Because I saw something tonight that I cannot believe it never occurred to me before. And I'm really hoping I'm not stealing your thunder, but it's not a biblical analogy, but one from the modern era. Are you going to do a modern era one?
I am, but go for it.
It has to do with like the World War II era in terms of sending him off. Was that where you were going?
Not that specific. So mine's a little more general.
Okay, so I never saw it before. I'm like, it never gelled for me. But looking at the parents sending him off and this idea that the only way to save him is to send him away was very much like a kinder transport. It was like the international kinder transport, with him being raised out in the farm country, out in someplace away from the fighting where it'd be safe.
Now, I don't get too deep into this in the actual slideshow, but the history of Superman is very much a reaction to what was going on in Europe in World War II. The first publication of Superman was in 1938, Action Comics #1. It was not even a Superman titled comic book. It was a collection of stories, and the Superman story was one of, I think, 5 in that comic book. It was one of the first comic books that was sold in comic book form as an independent story. Before there were superhero comic books the way we know them today, they would take, comics first appeared in the funny pages, as they were called, in the newspaper. A newspaper is like an app to get your news, but it's delivered to your door in paper form. So in a section of the newspaper, there would be comics, and they would put together a week's worth of comics or a month's worth of comics, and they would publish it in a little booklet. And that's how comic books first came to being. And then people like Jerry Schuster and Joe Siegel, who created Superman, they said, hey, we should do stories in comic books that start out at the comic books, that's dedicated only to comic books, not make kids wait a day to see the next panel, but instead let them get the whole story, a month's worth of stories in a week. and every week they would publish, or every month they would publish, depending on the publication. And very often the first comic books were not dedicated to one character or one team of characters, but to a collection of stories that they wanted. There were a lot of mystery comic books and horror comic books and action comic books, but Action Comics was the first one that ever presented a superhero, as it were. And again, published in 1938, this idea of someone to save humanity, dare I say, messianic figure, because we as a people really needed to feel a sense of hope in the 30s, because we knew what was going on in Europe, and we were really expressing ourselves in different ways, and Schuster and Siegel expressed themselves through art. So yes, a direct reaction. The publication of Superman was a direct reaction to that. Same with Neymar the Submariner. Neymar was the first superhero. Anybody ever hear of Neymar? So Namor is a way cooler character than Aquaman, but he's basically Marvel's version of Aquaman. He was also the first Marvel superhero published in 1936 in a comic strip, and which is what the newspaper version. And so Namor the Submariner, created by Stan Lee, his real name Stanley Leibowitz, died a few years ago, but he was a just mega influencer in the comic book world. And Stanley Leibowitz, Jerry Schuster, Joe Siegel, if you can't tell, they're all Jewish. And they, same with Bob Kane, who created Batman. Same with his name is fading, is Stan Lee's partner with a lot of titles like the Fantastic Four, was also Jewish. I can't remember his name right now, but if I yell a name in the middle, then that's what then it's come to my head. So a lot of these comic book artists and storytellers were Jewish in the beginning of comic book history, and that was, again, heavily influenced by World War II, that need for a hero. So more about this, and I'm just going to go ahead and see. Sometimes when you ask me a comic book question, a superhero question, I talk for 20 minutes about it. So I love questions, very happy for them, but I'm going to bust through some of the other things I want you to notice from the clip so that we can move on. But I want you to notice him giving his son a blessing. And I said at the beginning, when we couldn't hear, I started reciting the threefold benediction, which is part of what parents bless their children with on Friday nights. So that jokingly saying that as he's kissing his son on the forehead also was intentional, because I think there is a direct comparison. Jor-El, Marlon Brando, the guy in white, was wearing the symbol that we know as the Superman symbol on his chest. Not a Superman symbol on Krypton. It's just the symbol of the House of El. And the newer Superman movies have declared that it's a symbol that means hope. It works very well for our midrashic interpretation of Superman, but I don't know that we needed it to mean anything. I think it could just be the crest of the house, the Magen El. So he's got that symbol. Spaceship raised by strangers, Ellery already picked up on. He's named after both of his adoptive parents. The Kal-El name he doesn't know until later. Kal-El is his given name by his parents, Jor-El and Lar-El. They give him Kal-El, but he's known, he gets the name Clark Kent from his mother's middle name and his parents' last name. So where he chastises her in that scene there, Martha Clark Kent. I don't think I've ever used my wife's middle name, and if you're ever with a spouse or partner who uses your middle name, call your rabbi. who scolds you with your middle name, unless they're joking. Oh, I'm getting a call from Barbara Heimoff. Excuse me. So he's also different, and that's kind of a no duh, but I want to put it out there. He's not from North Dakota. Now, Schuster and Siegel deny that what I'm about to show you has any influence on the creation of the Superman story. I'll let you all decide. A certain man from the house of Levi went and married a Levite woman. The woman conceived and bore a son, and when she saw how beautiful he was, she hid him for 3 months. When she could hide him no longer, she got a wicker basket, caulked it with bitumen and pitch. She put the child into it and placed it among the reeds by the bank of the Nile. The daughter of Pharaoh came to bathe in the Nile. She spied the basket among the reeds, and when she opened it, she saw it was a child, a boy crying. She took pity on it and said, "This must be a Hebrew child." Bonus points. Why did she immediately know it was a Hebrew child? I know you know, Barbara. You get credit. Yes, Zephin. He was circumcised. Babies didn't wear Pampers back then. They would just free in the breeze. So the baby is in the basket, opens it up. Oh, circumcised? That means Hebrew baby, because those are the people who do that. Same thing with the movie in Superman. When the baby comes out of the space pod, there's this moment that was edited out of the clip where he like stands up wearing nothing but what God gave him, and so it's got that parallel. They're from somewhere else. And what does she do? What does the Pharaoh do? Pharaoh's daughter do after this is she, with the help of Moses' sister Miriam, who jumps out of the reeds and goes boogie boogie boogie. Hey, I can find him a Hebrew nurse. So the Pharaoh's daughter gets a Hebrew nurse for Moses, and guess what? It's his mom. So Miriam is watching Moses from the bushes, and she says, "Hey, let me get you a Hebrew nurse. Here's some random lady I found." Well, it was not random. It was his mom. So Moses is raised in the Pharaoh's palace by his mother as his nursemaid. So it's like having your own mom as a nanny while you're living in Bel Air, like the Fresh Prince. You get all of the best of both worlds. You get all of the advantages of being in the new household, but you also get all the advantages of knowing your own personal history, knowing your people and who you're from. And so that's the teachings in the Kryptonian pod. Give him that history, and being raised by the Kents allows him to be that good old red, yellow, and blue American boy. Superman used to be about truth, justice, and the American way, which I thought was so awesome because he's an immigrant. So the American way is immigrants. Yes, it is. Let's not forget that. Now, I want to talk. I mentioned a little bit about Kal-El versus Clark Kent and his name, and Moses's name. So as it says, Pharaoh's daughter named him Moses, explaining, "I drew him out of the water." Now, why does Moses mean I drew him out of the water? Well, because Moshe is his name in Hebrew, and Mishitehu is I drew him. Sorry, Mishitihu is I drew him out. So Mishitihu, Moshe, it makes sense that its Hebrew name is Moshe, but she's Egyptian. She probably didn't mean to give him a Hebrew name. Excuse me 1 second. I'm in class. I love you. So Egyptian giving him a Hebrew name is a little weird. but now I don't know how to write cuneiform. I don't know how to speak Egyptian, so I'm going to use English letters here. Well, really Roman letters, but I'm going to use the symbols that I know to explain his name in Egyptian. So this phrase, this root, Mses, so which I'm going to refer to as MSS, which I know is wrong, but whatever. It means son of in Egyptian. So some examples: Kamoses was a 17th dynasty pharaoh. His name means son of Ka, Moses. The one pharaoh you probably have heard of, Ramesses, son of Ra. So therefore, Moses means son of or son of nothing or fatherless. So Moses in English is Moses in Hebrew is designated as someone being drawn out of the water, but his Egyptian name is much more significant to how he identifies as an orphan. Yes, we know that he is from the tribe of Levi, but for the purpose of our story, he's got no parent to guide him. And this is a pretty common trope among heroes. Heroes are orphans, just from Bible and literature. Noah, Moses, King Arthur, Odysseus, Harry Potter, Katniss Everdeen, all orphans. And yes, I know there's a little, I'm giving a little leeway with Katniss, but her mother was useless in the books, useless to the point that she's an orphan. So these are our, in literature, to do great things, you can't have this, parental unit above you. Personally, I'd rather have parents than save the world, but that's another story for another time. And then the same is true with superheroes. Superman, Batman, Robin, Spider-Man, Captain America, all of the X-Men pretty much, Daredevil, pick your superhero. There's a very high likelihood that they are an orphan, or in the case of like Francis Richards, the child of two superheroes. So that now that we've moved from the 30s to the golden age of comics in the 60s and 70s, to the silver age in the 80s and 90s, to modernizing comics in the aughts and teens and 20s now, comic books have developed into soap opera style families, and new characters are being developed and children are being had. So lots of superheroes have babies, and those are not orphans, but the origin stories of the superheroes very often are orphans. In addition to being orphans, superheroes start with a call. There's something that gives them that moment, that impetus, when they're going to know that they're the superhero. For Superman, there's a moment in the 1978 movie where he goes into a barn, opens up a chest, and there's nothing in it but straw and a green crystal. And the crystal is glowing, and he picks up the crystal. He tells his mom he has to go, and he hikes north. And so in Superman 2, he's describing the scene where he finds the crystal to Lois Lane, and he says he doesn't know how to explain it, but the crystal called to him, and it helped him understand that he needed to build the Fortress of Solitude, the kind of icy crystal structure that you see in Superman. So that moment was his inception moment. He heeded the call of the crystal that was, when it was glowing, in the movie soundtrack, you hear this, the pulsating energy noise. But for Moses, he actually hears something significant. And this is my favorite version of that story.
I am the God. You've chosen the wrong messenger. How can I even speak to these people? Complicated.
So Moses here in this clip sees the burning bush. And one of the things that I love about the Prince of Egypt, especially this scene, is that it is very true to the biblical text. The dialogue is pretty much straight from Torah, and the midrash is all visual. The extra things that happen that the text doesn't specifically say, those are all just visual representations. And when it's over, the tear comes out of Moses's eye. I don't know if you saw that. It's a little hard to see. And the elation on his face when he is kind of cradled by that energy from God, and the ripples on the ground as God's voice speaks, like all of it, I think is so beautiful. And but probably my favorite thing about this scene, does anybody know who plays the voice of Moses? I don't know that this is, I don't know that this is going to play for this crowd. So an actor named Val Kilmer plays the voice of Moses. And he is, as a human being, he's extremely weird, but he's a wonderful actor. And thank God, like, his weirdness has all at least been in the realm of appropriate. So but he's a strange guy. But again, brilliant actor, wonderful talent. And he plays the voice of Moses. He also plays the voice of God. So in this scene, the voice Moses hears for God is his own voice, which that just blows my mind. I absolutely love that. The same thing happened in the Ten Commandments. Those of you old enough to see the Charlton Heston thing, Charlton Heston also plays the voice of God. But that Moses is hearing his own voice, like, on the one hand, well, thankfully, because I think if I were walking around in the desert and I heard some like booming voice or some stranger's voice in my head, I would freak out. But hearing my own voice in my head, that happens all the time. I'm comfortable with my own voice. And all the more so, it makes me wonder, when my own voice is telling me to do the right thing, whose voice is that? I'm not going to answer that question. I think I'll just leave that one hanging. So the text of that, at least part of the text of that scene, the angel of Adonai appeared to him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. He looked and behold, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed. And Moses said, I will now turn aside and see this great sight. Why the bush is not burnt? And when Adonai saw that he turned aside to see, God called him out of the midst of the bush and said, Moses, Moses. And he said, here I am. What we need to engage our super, to make us super, is two things. You need that moment, that origin, but you also need to accept your origin. So one is natural, the other is behavioral. And the same is true with so many things we do as Jews. Shabbat starts at sundown, right? No matter what, Shabbat starts at sundown. But Shabbat also starts when we light the candles. We need both the natural action, the divine action, the way things go in the order of the universe, sunset, and human action. To accept Shabbat, we light candles. And those two things together make it the beginning of Shabbat. Neither one individually works on its own. Because if the sun sets, even though it's Shabbat to people who've lit candles, if the sun sets and you go, and you decide that you're just going to, go to work, then that's not Shabbat. That's just a day. But you light those candles, you take your time, you do rest, you spend time with family and friends, and you make it special, then it's Shabbat. So happens all the time in Jewish practice. So I want to lay out there a comparison for you of, oh, Superman versus Batman. No, that's a movie. Sorry, my bad. Here we go. Superman versus Moses. I want to lay out the comparison for you, starting with Superman. So in his story, the world is being destroyed by misuse of power. There's an environmental message we can get to another time. He's sent away by his father in a spaceship to save him. He's orphaned, actually. His parents die in an explosion. The Krypton explodes. And he awakens to his power and saves humanity. Everybody think that's a pretty good summary?
I got one more for you.
Okay.
How many names does Superman have?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's not Superman versus against Moses. Oh, yeah, I guess it is, because Moses has the Egyptian version of his name. And yeah, Moses has Kal-El, given by his people, and Clark Kent, given by his family, and Superman
has
given by the public.
Kal-El, not
Sorry?
Moses.
Sorry.
You said Moses has Kal-El.
Oh, I did. Sorry. You see how inexorably linked they are in my mind that I would do that. Thank you for that. Superman has Kal-El, and he has Clark Kent, and he has Superman given to him by the public. In some iterations of the story given to him by Lois Lane.
And I'm going to throw in one more, which is Moses goes by his Egyptian name. Like, he kind of keeps that as his primary name, and his Jewish name kind of we don't really use the Jewish version of, honestly, I can't always remember what Moses's Hebrew name is.
He doesn't have one.
No, he does. Midrash, according to Midrash, he has a Jewish name. I'll look it up for you. And but we know him by the name that his stepmother gave him, or his adopted mother. And the same is with Superman. You know, we learn the name Kal-El later. It's somewhat midrashic. But the name that he goes by is not Kal-El, it's Clark Kent. It's the name that and in both stories, it's the adopted mother who is really the nurturer and the one who kind of makes him who he is.
Absolutely. And for Clark Kent, it's both of his adoptive parents who are formative for him. More the mother, because she lives longer, but Jonathan Kent had a huge effect on him until he died.
But he was a little hesitant about adopting the kid, and the mom was all in quickly, just like Pharaoh's daughter.
Yes, in this version, yes. And in the comic books, they do bond quickly as well. But Jonathan Kent dies when Clark is in high school, so that bond with his mother is strengthened by that, which happens. So Moses, as a parallel to these, people being destroyed by Pharaoh, sent away in a basket by his mother to save him. He's orphaned practically. His parents are still alive, but he's being raised by the Pharaoh's daughter, and his mother's connection to him is kind of secretive. And when he awakens to his power, he saves the Israelites. Superman also has parallels to the Jewish
Israelites
people.
are humans, though, so they both save humans.
That's true. I meant all of humanity in general rather than specifically Egyptians, but you are correct. Egyptians are humans too. There's a midrash about that. So the Superman, as compared to the Jewish people, has other parallels that are not necessarily biblical connections, but are certainly cultural connections. He wears the symbol of his people. He feels obligated to do good things. He moved to a strange place where he tries to fit in. And there's a whole philosophy about if that's, Clark Kent as Superman's vision of what humans are like. Nerdy and weak and bumbling and clumsy and that kind of thing. That's another story for another time, or watch Kill Bill 2 with your parents' permission on your own. He feels the need for a space of his own, fortress of solitude. and he performs acts of justice when wearing the trappings of his people. When he's Clark Kent, he's bumbling and clumsy, but when he Superman's out, then he's doing all the things, flying, leaping tall buildings in a single bound, running faster than a locomotive, that kind of thing. Whereas the Jewish people, we too wear the symbols of our people. Anybody, I happen to not wear jewelry, but I know Barbara's got a, yep, there you go. Anybody else wearing like a chai or a Jewish star or anything like that? I see some of you holding up your necklaces. That's,
I
yeah.
have a piece of jewelry, but I don't think it counts because it's a Lego figure with Darth Vader, so I don't think that counts.
I would like to see that, please.
Okay.
Is that, are you willing?
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. Unrelated, but still awesome. So very common for Jews to wear things that show their Jewish pride and show our connection to our people. You know, for me, it's even a yarmulke. That is there. A yarmulke is not a religious artifact. Have you ever seen anybody drop a yarmulke on the ground and pick it up and kiss it? I kind of giggle when that happens because it's just a hat. It does, unless your yarmulke has the tetragrammaton on it, the 4-letter name of God. You don't need to kiss it when you drop it on the ground. And if your yarmulke has the tetragrammaton on it, may I suggest you wear a different one. So the wearing the trappings of our people is very, very common. Where Superman feels obligated to do good things, we are obligated to do mitzvot. We have a list of 613 things that we do or don't do according to how we are moved by the mitzvot. He moved to a strange place. A lot of Jews, especially the ones that are connected to Schuster and Siegel, moved to America where we tried to fit in, just like he moved to Smallville, Kansas. Where we might not have been in, Smallville, but we were in New York and Los Angeles and Sacramento and Fountain Valley. And we moved to where we want to make a better world for ourselves and our families. And Superman does the same, really. His parents send him to where he's going to survive. His fortress of solitude, I would compare to our space, either synagogues or a shtetl, where they would build a whole neighborhood to be Jewish and have similarities with their neighbors. And then he, acts of justice when he's wearing his uniform. We too perform mitzvot, especially when wearing the trappings of our people. And like I mentioned the yarmulke. When I'm out and about and I feel, sometimes you're doing stuff in public and you want to share some choice words with a fellow driver. But then I feel that yarmulke kind of pressing on the back of my skull, and I'm like, oh no, I'm representing when I'm out here, so I have to hold those words back. Or there's that piece of trash here. Let me grab that. Then when I do that, then my yarmulke feels a little lighter. So those moments where we're wearing the trappings of our people, we have to remember. Rabbi Mona, I see you unmuted.
Yeah, do you know the story of how the creators of Superman got inspired for Superman to change in a phone booth?
No.
This is a great story. So they lived in Cleveland, they grew up in Cleveland, which had a very sizable Jewish community. And in the mornings, they would see the men running to shul in their, wearing their talises, their kippot, and their tefillin. And then afterwards, they would see a number of them pop into a phone booth to fold everything up, put it in their bag, put on their suit jackets, and run off to work. And so, isn't that awesome? So the changing in the phone booth and putting on the talit and all of that was inspired by the guys going to early morning prayer before work.
That is fantastic. I'm so glad I know that. Thank you so much for that. That's definitely going into future presentations. The 1978 Superman gives a shout out to the old phone booth, where, because phone booths in the late 70s became top only, where it was just a little chest high piece.
Do you guys know what a phone booth is? Okay, because I wasn't sure if they still existed in your lifetime.
If you go to Anaheim, to the Disney in Anaheim, and you go, there is only one series of phone booths in the entire Disney campus, and I'm so glad that Steve Hamrell is coming on just as I'm saying this, because I think he in particular will love this. So I'm going to start the sentence over. If you go to Disneyland, there is one place where you can find phone booths in the entire park, and that is, ironically, Tomorrowland. So when I discovered that, I was like, that's hysterical. So so there's this moment in Superman 1978 where he knows he needs to change. He's running, looking. He looks at one of those half phone booths and kind of shrugs and moves on, because he can't shut the door. And today there are all kinds of ways. He in the movie, he goes into a revolving door, and it goes super fast, so you can't see what's going on, and then poof. And Rabbi Mona's has a Wonder Woman background. On the TV show Wonder Woman, she would put her arms out and spin around, and suddenly she'd go from Diana Prince to Wonder Woman, and which was really no, I'm not going to tell that story. I got something to tell you privately about that later, Mona. I want to focus for a minute on I want to try and wrap up, because I want to open up to questions. So I want to look at the symbol. The symbol itself it's iconic. We recognize it. We know, we see, even just the shape, we can feel like we're going to be seeing Superman. And a lot of people will remind us that it's supposed to be a side view of a diamond. And I like that, especially because, diamond is one of the hardest materials, but it's also made of the same basic element that we're made of. So it's just us, but better. And yet I don't think it's total. I don't necessarily agree that it's a diamond. If you take the shape and kind of manipulate it a little bit so that some of it goes out, some of it comes up, other parts come up, and then I don't think you have to be Fellini to figure out what I'm doing here. So this is clearly, now of course I'll add one more stick, but to me this is what the Superman symbol looks like. Or if you like, we can do it like this. This is what I see whenever I see that symbol. I see the cutout, the part of the Jewish star that reminds us that we are that we are steeped in this super culture. And something else about the symbolism of Superman, because what would Superman be without his cape? And say what you will about the Incredibles, and the whole no capes monologue, but Superman's cape is iconic. It's also different from other characters who wear capes. Superman's, usually when a character wears a cape, it's either coming off of a cowl like Batman is pictured here, or it's got some sort of fastening device, either a little tie or a clasp or something, like Shazam, Doctor Strange, and Vision here have something holding their cape there. Superman's doesn't have anything holding it. It comes down in 2 points and just kind of relaxes. And yeah, it kind of looks like it's tucked in, but then there's no puffiness underneath to show that it's tucked in. So it's kind of just hanging there. So when I see that, I see the 2 points coming down and the billowing cape behind, I only see one thing. And and to me, when we put on that talit, that's our cape. That's us being super. That's us really accepting that staff. It's us heeding the call of the burning bush or the green crystal or the voice in our head. And I want to go back to that verse we looked at when the angel first appeared to him in the burning bush. And down here at the bottom, God called to him, Moses, Moses, and he said, here I am. In Hebrew, here I am is hineni. And it's more than just a GPS locator. It's a statement of readiness. When a character in the Torah says hineni, they are saying not just, here I am, look at me. They're saying, I'm ready, I'm willing, I'm able, I am going to do whatever God is asking me to do at this moment. It is a response to a very specific call from God. And it is that acceptance of heroic power. And it's our call. It's our catchphrase. A lot of superheroes have catchphrases. Superman's is up, and away. The Tick's is spoon. The whatever it is that calls. Oh, I got Andrew. So whatever it is that you use, whatever word it is that you use that really designates your readiness, that means you have accepted that power that God puts in you. And that power is actually named in the Torah. It's called Ruach Elohim or Ruach Adonai. And all of these characters get it. In the Bible, whenever Ruach Adonai or Ruach Elohim is said, something awesome is about to happen. Moses, Bezalel, Holiab, Balaam, Caleb, Joshua, Othniel, Ezekiel, Samson, Gideon, Saul, kind of David, Elijah, Elisha, Ezekiel, all of these characters get Ruach Elohim. And I'm so sad to say that none of these are female characters. Even though there are female characters who act super in the Bible, it just doesn't say that because the Bible was written by people with very old standards. Rabbi Mona.
So most of the Jewish characters in comic books are heroic characters, positive images. But there is one that is back and forth, and that's Magneto.
Yeah.
And so I was curious if you have any thoughts about there being a negative image of a Jewish hero or a Jewish strongman, let's put it that way, in comic book lore.
It's a great question. And I will say it's kind of a matrixy view of the world where God doesn't create perfect beings because perfect beings can't exist. It doesn't compute. The one thing that God gives us that sets us apart from any other creature is free will. And when we are endowed with this ruach, this divine presence, the divine spirit of God, we have the choice. We can light Shabbat candles or not. We can go do mitzvot in the world or not. We can also go do bad things in the world. There are times when it is so super easy to do something bad. I was on a vacation recently, and we were on the beach, and there was a purse wide open on the beach. You could see a cell phone right in it. Me, I put a towel over it. I don't know who could, but it would have been very easy to use your power to just grab, and who knows, maybe nobody would have seen. Been very easy to just steal from whoever had their purse open. But just because someone is making a mistake to make them vulnerable doesn't mean we have the right to take advantage of it. And so that's a non-super version of using our power for the better. But Eric who's became Magneto. His last name is blanking on me at the moment. I have Lestat in my head, but that's the vampire. So Magneto has the choice to use his powers for good or for evil. He survived the Holocaust, and came out of it deciding that humans are evil and that he needs to fix them. And oh my goodness, Eli, who wrote Night,
Oh, Elie Wiesel.
Elie Wiesel says something very similar, where some people come out of the Holocaust fully embracing Judaism and becoming super religious and wanting to be passionate practicing Jews for the rest of their lives. Some people came out of the Holocaust never wanting to go to shul ever again, because it didn't do them any good, and everything in between. And that's all part of choice. That's all part of our permission, our power to make choices for ourselves.
Now, I'm curious if any of my students have any questions about any particular comic book heroes. There's been increased representation in recent years,
Yeah.
where, gosh, I can't remember, there's a reformed Jewish female queer superhero. Do you know
Kitty
who I'm talking
Pryde.
about? Yes, which, I mean, we're getting more and more representative. I'm curious if anybody has any questions about any of them or comments. I don't know. I know that a bunch of the guys had wanted to do superheroes, but I think two of them who were interested are two of the guys who are not able to be here tonight.
Oh,
I know, that's part of the reason I'm making sure we record this. So any thoughts or comments, anyone?
Not that I can think of.
Was that E or was that
was-
Bunny?
It's E. I can't think of any right now.
So RDY, do you have, other than Superman, a favorite Jewish superhero?
yeah, and it rotates all the time. Probably my very, very favorite is the Thing. Here it is. So the Thing is one of the members of the Fantastic Four. He's pictured here.
He's the one who looks like a big rock, like a pile of rocks.
A big pile of rocks. And in this particular issue, I have 8 copies of this issue, and that's because I use it to teach. But in this issue, he goes back to Yancey Street, which is where he's from. He fights he goes back so that he can make amends, so that he can do tshuva. He stole something as a kid. He's always kept it with him. He's always felt guilty about it. So he goes back to the pawn shop from which he stole it to give it back to the old man who runs the shop. He calls him Sheck. It's probably short for Sheckstein or Sheckman or something like that. And so here's a scene where after he fights off the bad guy has thrown stuff around and something has hit the old man and he's lying on the street. And so the Thing comes running at him and he says, "Can't tell if he's breathing, don't hear nothing. Me giving him CPR could crush him. Damn, where's those cops he called? Sheck could be dying and I can't do nothing. No, there is one thing. Let's see, been a while. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Vaed." I'm just reading you straight from the page. And when Sheck wakes up, he wakes up coughing and he says, "Enough, Benjamin, don't say Kaddish for me next." So here he is, just flat out acknowledging that he's Jewish. Oh, and hey, what is it that he stole? again, going to be a little hard to see, but it's a little Jewish star necklace. So
And what year is
It-
that? What year is that from?
yeah, 2004, I think. I always confuse it with another. 2002. This is Fantastic Four, Volume 3, number 56 from August 2002. So just about a year after 9/11 also. So a lot of that pride in who we are coming out and not letting anyone scare us into not being ourselves. Question from Harper. Are there many superheroes who are explicitly Jewish, or their Judaism mostly implied? Are non-Jews able to recognize the Jewishness of some superheroes as well? Fantastic question. So both. Before this moment in comic books, it was mostly implied, with a very few who were out as Jewish. Kitty Pryde was one of the first, the one that Rabbi Mona just mentioned, where there's a scene in the comics from the 80s where she's lighting a Chanukiah, and she does a little explaining, and it's explained in a very much like cereal box kind of way, but it was our first, it was like our first win. Yay. The Thing was rumored to be Jewish because he had this like, Brooklyn attitude. Yancey Street is a made up place, but it definitely feels like the Bronx. It feels like shtetl kind of area. And so everyone kind of thought the Thing was Jewish. And when the Thing's creator, again, that name is just not coming to me, but when the Thing's creator died, they found in his closet a pencil drawing framed of the Thing with a tallis and tefillin. So it was one of those like kind of revelatory moments for all of us comic book nerds that like the Thing is definitely Jewish. We know it. And in this comic book, he says, why did, all these years you're in the news all the time, you're saving the city all the time, why don't you say you're Jewish? Why don't you give us a win? And the Thing answers, hey, I'm a big pile of ugly orange rocks. I don't want people to think that all Jews are like me. And again, like, how many of us connect with that? How many of us connect with the embarrassment or the self-imposed shame of who we really are? And how important is it to just embrace who you really are? It's a Jewish value. It's a comic book value. It's a human value. Another question similar, focusing on the DC universe, which is many illustrators of Jewish background. Do we see Jewishness in the Marvel universe? The Marvel universe was started by Stan Lee, as I mentioned before you got here, Steve. And good to see your name and good to see your typing. So its creator, Stan Lee Leibowitz, very Jewish. The Thing is Marvel Comics, Fantastic Four, Marvel Comics. Kitty Pryde is one of the X-Men, so she's also Marvel Comics. Same with Magneto. DC universe is Superman, Batman, created by Jewish illustrators and creators. A lot of the comic book world has just kind of blown up to like, it doesn't even matter what your background is. Everyone's got something that superheroes speak to. And I think that's part of the beauty of it, because the same is true for Judaism, that it's got something in it that should speak to you. And if that thing is, the ability to be super, then great. But something about that Ruach Elohim and who it's in, it's in everyone. It's in all of us. We all have that Ruach Elohim. It's implanted in you. It's implanted in you when you put on that talit. It's implanted in you when you wear that Star of David. It's implanted in you when you put on your CBI t-shirt from a trip you took with Rabbi Mona. It's everywhere. I'm seeing you putting links to books or articles about
Both.
superheroes.
And Harper, there's one specifically, the second one. This is the one I couldn't remember if she was or not. I'm sorry, it includes Harley Quinn. So this gives you some very specific ones. I'd forgotten about her.
Yeah, Harley Quinn has a lot of implicit Judaism, but yeah, the new Batwoman, I forgot about her. The Thing I mentioned, Harley Quinn is one of those, like, yeah, she's not a hero for sure, but yeah, raised in two households. Moon Knight, Hal Jordan, no. Oh, Catholic father. Okay, fine. Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, because they're Magneto's kids. So yes, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. Dr. Manhattan from this is neither DC nor Marvel. Great. And I don't know Gertrude York is. I don't know. Oh, Runaways. I'm not a fan of the Runaways, so I don't know that very well. So yeah, I don't have anything against the Runaways. I just don't know it very well. So yeah, a lot of comic book superheroes. There are so many more. There's a short-lived comic book series called Shalom Man. I think there are 6 issues. It is as clever and creative as its name, so you take with that as you will. But I own all 6 issues. And
there's also the original.
I'm sorry.
Dinner. We're getting ready to eat dinner. I'm so tired. We're getting ready to eat dinner. I'm looking for any girl.
I got it.
Was that your wife?
No, it was someone who accidentally was unmuted.
Oh, okay. You forgot the original Jewish soup. Oops, shoot, that's my husband. Let me get rid of that. Sorry.
Don't get rid of Glenn.
He's in Switzerland. I'll call him later.
He's so beautiful.
But the original Jewish superhero, the Golem, and this is killing me that I'm at home tonight, because on my desk to show the students was actually have a comic book as the Golem as a superhero.
And Isaac Brinjigar Bialik and
Rabbi Shana
Brinjigar Bialik do wonderful work with superheroes and golems and creativity, and they're amazing. I'm sure they would come to your confirmation class should you wish it.
We actually had them as scholars a couple of years ago.
Me too.
They're fabulous. Can you take us off your screen so we can see all the faces?
Okay. I'll skip my last couple.
No, I thought that was the last one. No, take us back to your slides.
It's fine.
No. It just seems like the grand finale that we're all superheroes, but go back and show us.
It is the grand finale that we're all superheroes. The one thing that I had left was that there is just like Up and Away, just like Ruach Elohim, just like the thing, Hineni, we do have a superhero code written in the Bible. It comes from Micah chapter 6, verse 8. Do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly before your God. And I think if you can remember no other mitzvah in the Torah, then at least we have Micah to help point us in that summary of what God wants from us. Do justice, love mercy, walk humbly before your God.
Rabbi David, I want to say thank you. This was a lot of fun. I always love it when I have a chance to learn from another rabbi. And since you're a co-host, what I want to be able to do is, if my students want to sign off, they can, but they don't have to if they still have questions. And I want to be able to give your congregants a chance to ask questions as well. And so I want to be able to say for my students who want to take off, you're welcome to, but you don't have to. Stay healthy, stay masked. And should we unmute people so that people have questions? Because I think you have a couple as well.
Awesome.
No, we have a quiet crowd.
Everyone stayed muted.
So I think it's interesting that some of the ones who came out are, in terms of being Jewish, are female. And I wonder why that is, because
we're cool.
well, I think there's a different sense of risk. So there's a wonderful rabbi in LA, Rabbi Denise Ager, who I spoke to many years ago about the fact that more lesbian rabbis were out about who they were than gay male rabbis, because the females felt like they already had, they had less to lose, that the men had more to gain by being a part of the mainstream power structure. So I think it's funny in terms of the superheroes, because we out ourselves as Jews, or we tend to closet ourselves as Jews, depending on the situation. And I think that because most American male Jews are Ashkenazi, they have more to gain to be part of kind of the mainstream power structure. Whereas with Superman or any of those early superheroes, none of them would have benefited by being outed as Jews.
As a matter of fact, very recently, I want to say within the last year, Superboy came out as bisexual, and Green Lantern of Earth 2, which is another series, is gay, and it's like, it's nothing. It's just it's just part of it. It's just and it's one of those things where, like, in the issue 1 of Earth 2 Green Lantern, the Ring he discovers him after a plane crash that kills his husband, and the Ring says, I know this is your husband and you're in pain right now, but I need you to come with me. And that's the only time that his sexuality is implied at all for years. Like, there's nothing else said about it. Like, yeah, he's going on a date. Oh, cool. And who is he dating? It doesn't say. Although in another Green Lantern iteration, Green Lantern, Kyle Rayner Green Lantern was a comic book artist. Talk about meta. And he had an assistant, and his assistant was an out young man. And there's an issue. I get a little teary when I think about it, because the issue is very powerful, where his assistant is the victim of a hate crime, and Green Lantern goes ballistic and nearly kills these 3 normal humans. He puts all of them in the hospital, and he really just goes overboard with his own power in getting retribution for his assistant, his friend, his mentee. And so it's a lot of the emotions that we all deal with when we're dealing with whether or not to be out, when we're dealing with what happens when violence is committed against people who are different, are perceived as different. And when we have such extreme power, what is our responsibility when it comes to punishing those who do wrong? I wish I'm having some brain, gaseous issues,
right?
COVID brain, but that's from the Kyle Rayner Green Lantern. If you can find that storyline, it is phenomenal.
Sounds like a great teaching book. Well, Rabbi, I'm going to do something I don't usually do. I'm going to give you the last word.
Okay, so the word for a hero in Hebrew is gibor, and this is going to be, as nerdy as I am with superheroes, I'm also nerdy about grammar, and so the form that gibor is in is a strong form, that taking a root of a word and making it eu makes it stronger. The word for a regular person is gever, a guy, just a guy, gever. So all a hero is a regular person, but more so. It's making that regular person more of what they are. Just like the diamond that is made of the same stuff we're made of, it's carbon. and made stronger, so too, all we need to be a hero is just be a little bit more of what we already are.
Yasher Koach. So Rabbi,
Yes,
if you could stay on for just a second, I'm going to say goodbye to all of our students who are still here. See you guys soon. And goodbye to your congregants. It was lovely of them to join us.
Good to see your name, Steve. Love to share, Lynn.
So let me see, let me help them out a little bit. There we go.